Hello, my girl lovers. I am back. I apologize for the long wait on this video. It's taken me a long time, but this video is about my Demon Slayer OC, Sashiko Nanashi. Now, this character I've been working on for a good 2 to 3 years, I think, so we got a lot to get into. I am currently writing a book on her that has almost 10,000 words on the first 2 chapters, which is good to hear. So you can see that this right here is going to be concept designs for her. I had a couple ideas when making her, given her story and her background, that you'd have to read the book once it's posted to really understand. But there was a design in it here I did where I was deciding maybe I should make her an Oran, but I did not go with that. She is a Hashira. Now, her Hashira pillar, whatever the heck you want to call it, I decided to go with her having her own, which would be the light of the darkness, given her story background information. I'm trying not to say as much. I know I have in the past, but I'm trying to leave out the filler words. So, I just went through a couple designs, and when I started this is the reason this video has taken so long. When I started this, I had this speed paint that I did almost like 2 years ago, I want to say, and another piece I did where she looked kind of like what I wanted her to, but I wasn't really so keen on that design either, and I had a little bit written on her book. Originally, her name was supposed to be Sashiko, like that would be her first name, and then Yaku, but then I did a little bit more research into the name because I had prior to picking her name had to do that, and I found out that it was more related to like a brand, like a clothing brand in Japan, and I didn't want that, so I did a little bit more research, and her first name, Nanashi, should mean nameless in Japanese, and then her last name is Sashiko, which should mean little stab or something similar. So this was the other piece I had done on her. Originally it was not supposed to be her at all, but it kind of turned out that way. So it was how the cookie crumbled. I had like a brief idea for what I wanted for her uniform. I wanted her to have like a long story, her uniform top being the same, and I wanted one of those long skirts that kind of slit open. I've seen a lot of people hate that though, because they say, oh well, it's too revealing, da 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 da. But I like those skirts. I think they're really pretty. You can see my character in the corner has one. I have a little toggle for that character. It's an old character sprite that I'm using for this, but I have a toggle on this demon character in the corner where I can remove the skirt part, the lower bit, and it's a bodysuit underneath. So I was thinking in the beginning something similar to that, though I did change it to where she has like biker shorts or just plain shorts underneath her skirt and some thigh-high socks. So it's less revealing, but you can still see the scar on her thigh. Yep, there's her original name in the corner. So that's just what I originally had planned, but then I switched it around. So her full name is Sashiko Nanashi. Her parents never named her, so she didn't get their last name, which is Yaku. So instead she has Sashiko as her last name. And in Japan, in Japanese, usually when you go to introduce yourself, that I've noticed, is they often put the last name before the first name, and people will call you by your last name if they're not that close to you, or if it's more of a business relationship. So I have been trying to keep that up in the book. I know there's a point in time where I completely spelled her name wrong, and I think I freaked out a little bit because I had 8,000 words written on my book, and I had to go through and edit her name, and it was by one letter. Her name is spelled Nana, S-H-I for nanashi, because that's how nameless is spelled in Japanese. I hope, at least. I don't know anybody that's Japanese, so I am relying heavily, or speaks Japanese, I'm relying heavily on what I've researched, and I'm hoping that that's right. I am trying to learn Japanese, but I'm learning it from Duolingo, so I have no clue if her name's right. It could be something like a shitty name, but I don't know. So after this, I wanted to get in with like more concept designs for her, so I did a little panel of about 6 designs. I went back with the Orion design just to see, maybe I would still like it, and then I picked out 3 that I really liked from it that I wanted to keep. I like the hair specifically in a couple of them because I like the metal bits at the ends of her hair. I decided to, her vibes more around the based, I don't know how to say it. I think I based her a lot off of Iguro from Demon Slayer, as well as Gyu, for a couple of reasons. And then her hair is kind of inspired by Mitsuri's hair in the show with her back braid. As you'll see later on, I switch her hair into a back braid that I think looks really pretty, and then she has the 2 little bits on each side of her face that have the metally bits, and she has a metally bit on the back of her hair as well. I also end up giving her a hooked nose in my newer designs because I just thought it fit her better. Now, going in on her personality, originally I had her planned to be in a relationship with Kanade, which I still end up going with, but her and Kanade's doomed Yuri. Now, her sexuality would be pansexual for nanashi. It's just what I imagine it to be. So that gives me like a lot of options in the future for where her story can take her if she does have another love interest. I am maybe putting her with a different love interest in the future. I do have one like kind of subtly hinted at in the book, but I don't know because I don't want it to feel like I'm taking away representation from pansexual people in any way, shape, or form. So I think I may not, but I know that it is something that can happen where you are with a woman and then end up with a man. It doesn't matter, you're still pansexual. Either way, I do know that, but I'm a little bit worried that it may come off as too soon for the character or just not the right time. But that's pretty much like what goes through my mind when I'm thinking about making her. I want her to be more balanced. I don't want her to be an overpowered character. So at the start, she's very weak in consideration to the rest of the Hasuras, as her breathing form only has 5 forms, which I believe is pretty low for the series. And I did have to rewrite a little bit of the Demon Slayer lore. The kid from the show that's 14 in the Hashira, I can't pronounce his name. He is technically no longer the youngest Hashira to ever exist. It would technically be Kanade, because Kanade is a year younger than Nanashi, and so yeah. But it just fit better with how I was writing her character lore, so just had to go with it. This is the first real drawing I got done of Nanashi, and I still love it. It's really good. It shows you where she gets her neck cut from. Like, all of her scars, you learn where they're from, except for the ones on her hands. I also had another like really cute idea for her with having her nails painted as Kanade's eye color and having Kanade's nails painted as Nanashi's. it's just a cute idea that I really like, so I went with it. I also had the rings in play in this one. I don't know what to talk about. But this character is quickly becoming my favorite. I love drawing her. I've been obsessed with drawing her. After this, I'm working on 2 more drawings of her. I've been really heavily focused on writing her series to the point where I may actually end up finishing it, which is wild for me to say and believe, because I have started like 50 million stories and only get like a chapter in at most to some of these stories. But this one I am 2 chapters in, and I feel like I could keep going because I've written so much on it, like a lot. So another thing with Nanashi's character is she ends up getting a dog named Yuki, a Saint Bernard. I don't draw dogs, but this is making me draw dogs. But she ends up getting Yuki, which is a Saint Bernard, and then later on she's gonna get a black cat named Kyron. It's mentioned in the story why she ends up with these animals. They're more like fated animals to her. Cat and dog distribution system, if you get that reference. That's what I'm kind of referring to a little bit there. But yeah, here's where her hook nose comes into play. It's amazing, and you only see it for a little bit. Damn it. I do, after that, I do keep it. She does have a little bit of PTSD in her character lore, so I wanted to make a piece where you could just see that being embodied, and this is specifically the one. I love this piece. I love this. I've kind of fleshed out more of her uniform and everything. It's so fun to do. My CapCut is lagging really bad, so I'm hoping that I will be able to export this video. I do not know, but if you are seeing it, that means I was able to, and the video will be up as about 30 minutes. This is probably the longest video I have on my page. So, next drawing, I wanted to draw Nanashi as a kid, specifically from scenes from my book that I'm writing. So this one is the scene where Nanashi is a kid and she's coming out of her room and she sees that the demon number 2, the number 2 upper moon, is out there, and he has just killed her maid in a very horrific way. So I wanted to have the colors of this be more mute, like you cannot really tell the color of her hair from this as much as you normally would, so I did this mostly in black and white with draw out to her eyes, a little bit in her hair, and then reds and blues around her as like a lighting source or as like a show of panic. I specifically for this had to look up 1890s clothing for children because that is her birth year, and I feel like her parents wouldn't splurge on any new outfits for her, so it just kind of put into a play of like her situation. I also wanted to make her hair look really messy and unkempt, as well as not really, how do I put it, not well cut either, more jagged and rough, and I think I managed to pull that off really well, as well as her expression of just pure and utter terror on her face and shock at the same time, like she doesn't know what to do. In Nanashi's personality, she is emotional in a lot of ways. She is more sensitive, but at the same time she is very unemotional and detached. Like, you can't really tell what she's feeling at sometimes because she's just numb completely, and it's hard for it to come across, and a lot of people mistake that as her being creepy. She has a lot of traits about her that make her off-putting to most, specifically a bad habit of hers of staring at people when she's nervous. And she has like really pretty blue eyes, but they kind of change colors. If she's like upset, they darken in color a lot. So it just makes her look dead inside and very creepy to other people. A little bit of the blue-eyed stare, but not to that effect. It's just misinterpreted by a lot of people. A lot of people mistake her as a strong character when she's not really that strong or confident in her own abilities, and people think that she's like this big, like, brute, like she would kill without hesitation, given any chance. But there's a lot of moments where she messes up, she's weak, she doesn't know what she's doing, she's scared, she's visibly scared, and people don't realize that because people don't pay attention to her. She's more of a background character in everybody else's life. She's not meant to be a main character in a sense. That's how I've been writing her. Her personality is a little bit of a self-insert with how I can feel sometimes, but not a lot. I know I put a lot of elements into her, specifically with grief. Her story is very focused around grief and trying to move past it. So I have been writing a lot of scenes where she's just laying in bed and just randomly breaking down, or having a hard time, or freaking out, having a panic attack, an anxiety attack, just going through it. And when Yuki comes in, she kind of helps her with that and starts to help her move on past that. Now, these little spirals I did on her kimono, they kind of stick like really heavily in the future to her Hatori. Like, originally I wasn't gonna put any design on her Hatori, and then I had like a small like stitched up design for her because in the past, if I go on my TikTok, she used to be a character I had called Stitches, and she was originally a creepypasta OC. Oh, going back to that time. So her original name was Stitches. Technically, I have to scroll back like a lot. That's why I say she's an older OC, because I kind of rebranded her for Demon Slayer when I got like really into Demon Slayer. So she does have a past. For her weapon, I forgot to mention this, she has two. She has a normal katana, and then she has a whip. You heard me right there. If I go back to her older art that I did of her, which is like really far back, I'm going back just to see the date. There it is. So she got rebranded as a Demon Slayer OC in 2022. And then that's like the first time you see her as a OC or OC. Demon Slayer OC. What the fuck did I just say? That's the first time you see her as a Demon Slayer OC. But before that, if I can find it, we'll see. We'll see. Before that, I believe she appears a couple times in... That may be the only time I drew her. I swore, but originally her name was Stitches, and her mouth was supposed to be like stitched and stuff, and it was supposed to be... I can't remember necessarily what exactly it was supposed to be. I just know that she was originally going to be another creepypasta OC, like Ghost and all of the characters I have in that series. But I ended up getting really heavily into Demon Slayer, and then like around the Musan train arc, I think that's the arc. No, it's train arc. I'm just gonna call it the train arc because I can't be bothered. But around that time, I'm like, you know what, Stitches would be good in this, so I switched her over to being a Demon Slayer OC. So that's how Nanashi came to be. Her original name was supposed to be Stitches because her scar around her mouth was supposed to be stitched, and that's why it kind of resembles Jeff the Killer's smile, although her scar happened for a different reason and it was inflicted on her. None of her scars on her face or body are done by herself. It's all done by other people and people that she trusted, or when she makes mistakes in battle. So, yeah, fun to know. I really had a lot of fun with this piece, though. Originally I was going to put an eyeball up in the little area up there, but I took it down because I couldn't get it to sit right. And I think it would just feel a little bit too out of place. My dog is getting off my bed, I'm sorry. I also wanted to put, like, bits and pieces of flesh around and just make it very gory, but I did not, because I thought that'd just be too much. I mean, the scene I wrote is like that, and it is that detailed and gory, but I feel like for this piece, the subtlety of it, does a lot more than anything else, really. So, I just stuck with it. Yeah, you can see me start to, like, kind of color in a bit of her Hotori kimono. But I then change it to black and white because I'm like, no, I want this to be more muted so the colors don't really work. And I wanted her eyes to be like a big focus, like her blue eyes, but since they were so small and shocked, you can't really see the color of her eyes. They're just there. So there's a lot of times in this where I tried to make her eyes stand out more by darkening the areas around them, and it just didn't work. But it was fun to do, and it was fun to mess with the colors. I remember after I did this one, I was being really hard on myself because I'm like, it doesn't turn out the way I thought it would, but I think it really works for the scene I wanted to recreate. A lot of these drawings are for after I wrote like a specific scene in the book that I really got into, and I'm like, you know what, yeah, that would happen. And I'm like, yeah, I want to draw that. Mainly is the vibe I had after writing those scenes. So if y'all are okay with it, I have this drawing that I did as my lock screen now, by the way. So I've done like a whole 180 with it, but I'm going to read you guys the backstory I have of her. Originally I was going to read you guys the whole chapter, but I did, and it turned into a 1 hour and 30 minute long video, and I don't know if my iPad can handle it, plus I lost all that information, so I'm gonna go ahead and read this to you. On a rainy night, the Yaku family welcomed baby girl, however not very happily. The child's mother and father of the child... I'm already messing up. On a rainy night, the Yaku family welcomed a baby girl, however not very happily. The mother and father of the child had no interest in their daughter. Handing the crying baby to a maid. Here, take this god-awful thing, Miss Yaku said, swatting her hand to the maid, and Mr. Yaku spoke. A girl can't be our heir? Are you kidding? She's nothing but unwanted filth. He scoffed, and glaring at the small baby girl, and pouted, acting like a child in a tantrum. They had hoped for a boy to make heir, but it was not the god's intent. Instead, they were giving trash in their eyes, nothing but filth. The maid took the child to the baby room filled with nothing but blue stuff, and stuff seen as boy things. The maid sat down in a rocking chair, holding the baby close. "Don't worry, young miss, I'm sure that the lady will grow to love your beautiful little face." The maid calmed the newborn down and hummed a sweet tune. The baby girl looked up with big blue eyes, shining from tears, and cuddled into the maid, as she was the only comfort the baby now had. So there's a little glimpse into the story. My dog is whining because she wants up on my bed. There she goes. But there's like a bit of this story that we get, so if you are interested in this story, I will make an update when I actually post it. The story is going to be called How to Get Over You, the Light of Darkness Hashira. And it's going to be on Wattpad because it's the easiest place I know that I can write. But the first chapter is called The Cursed Daughter. That's not like the opening to the book. The opening is actually a message from a dead Kanade to Nanashi. But I wanted to just have you guys have a little background information of how her family treated her. I do like putting a lot of... Stop it. Stop it. Sorry, I'm getting onto my dog. I did like having the idea that a lot of what you know about Nanashi either comes from her mental state, where you see her very degrading of herself and of her own abilities, but very loving to the people around her. Like, you get to see her opinions on the other Hashira, but you also get to see how other people, glimpses of how other people see her, like how Kanade sees her, as you get Kanade's perspective, as you do of, as well as Tanjiro's and Nezuko's a little bit. In the future, I plan on having Gyu have a little bit of his opinion on her, because she's like an older sister to a lot of the younger characters, like Gyu, because he's 19 in the beginning and she's 22. So she's like an older sister to him. She's also ends up being like an older sister to Tanjiro and Nezuko, as well as his friends, which I have not written yet. Now, this drawing is the most recent I did of her, and you can see her hair in the back, which is so pretty. So for the background, originally I was going to have it be on the path, and then you see I bring in the Infinity Castle, and I was going to try and kind of trace a little bit of the buildings and stuff, and then I got confused, so I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it my way. And I made these little boxes and ended up putting lights on the boxes and stuff. I wanted to make it clear that the character's head she's holding is a demon from the show, so I did try and give the effect that they have in the show of the disintegration of the corpse. So she's not cruel for no reason. I do have an idea for the Infinity Castle arc for her, where she is not as much focused on the upper moons as she is the lower moons, and she's more so taking out the weaker demons for everybody else, so that so that the other people have an easier time. She's more of a support character for a lot of the other people. I wanted her to change the story a little bit, but not a lot. Like, she is prevented from doing so. She also has a thing in the story where I give her nightmares about tragic events that is going to happen as like a little forewarning. And sorry, my grandma's texting me. But it's just, I lost my train of thought. It just feel like she'd be haunted by a lot of things, but she'd also be like a badass in a lot of ways. And this drawing, I actually finished the rendering part of it on a live stream on TikTok. But with that, this video is over. I will try and post more. It does take me a while here lately. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Goodbye, y'all. Be sure to like and subscribe if you like my content and my stuttering and my ranting, because I do this all with no script. One take, no script, very minimal editing. So, yeah, I hope you guys have a good day and a good night if that's what time you're watching this. Anyway, goodbye.